I've just kept having these moments of being like, this is what you created, Katrina. I had a mentorship call where I was mentoring. I had some time to get to my hotel, but I just like flipped on my camera as I was in the Uber, and I saw myself looking back at myself. I have my cute, like stylish sunglasses on, and I look back at myself. I'm like, God, I feel kind of famous right now. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to highlight one of the core values of Fame Ready: expansion. Because building a profitable business isn't just about creating something great. It's about differentiation, standing out. And if you run a retail shop, you know just how hard that can be. Your brand, whether it's a personal brand, a product, or a storefront, is shaped by what people associate with you. And for retailers, that includes what's on your shelves. Finding unique products your customers won't see in big box stores takes time. Sourcing can be exhausting, and tying up your cash flow in new inventory, that's risky. That's why I'm so excited to partner with Faire. Faire is the largest online wholesale marketplace connecting hundreds of thousands of brands and retailers around the world. It makes discovering unique products simple and testing new inventory far less stressful. Retailers get net 60 payment terms, which means you can sell your inventory before you even have to pay for it. And they offer free returns on first orders, so you can try new brands with confidence. And if you're a brand listening, Faire also helps your products get discovered by retailers globally without endless cold pitching. Because you know we hate a cold pitch on this show. If growing your shop, differentiating your inventory, and strengthening your brand reputation is part of your next level strategy, I highly recommend checking out Faire. If you're a retailer and you haven't placed an order through Faire before, you can find the link in the show notes and use code Katrina10 for 10% off your first order. Now, let's get into today's episode. All right, you guys. Welcome back to Fame Ready, the podcast to show you that anything is possible. Yes, including fame. And let's talk about fame, okay? Because to be honest, yes, if you're watching on YouTube, I am once again in another new hotel room. Again. I'm a girl on the road right now. I'm in Toronto, and I just did some epic shit. Something I like to call, if you've been following along on Instagram, famous people shit. And famous people shit is really like what I have now coined this term of like doing things that actually make you feel like an icon, like a legend, like a celebrity. And you guys, I mean, you know, one of my favorite quotes of all time, something I used to open all my keynotes with was, I feel kind of famous right now. And you're going to see that statement coming back pretty quick here. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty famous right now because I just closed the market at the Toronto Stock Exchange. Okay. So I had told some people that it was like ringing the bell. Maybe I was sorely mistaken. It was not a bell. It was like a big button that you push to like close the market. And you have to do it on time. So like, this is a serious thing. Like we were on TV and everything. Okay. So I did this with the Women in PR North America group. So Women in PR Canada, Women in PR USA. Tomorrow I'm speaking at the conference. And so this was kind of like a little special add-on because the conference is sponsored by TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange. So we had the amazing opportunity to go close the market. And so I'll just kind of like walk you through what happened because I had no idea like what to expect. And I started to feel really anxious going into this conference because today obviously wasn't really conference oriented, but I did get to start to meet some people. This is not a conference where I'm going in knowing a whole whack of people. There are a handful of women from the PR industry that I do know, but I have remained relatively apart from the PR industry. And I'm sure that probably doesn't shock a lot of people that listen to this podcast because obviously I can be the anti-PR agency sometimes, only for very specific reasons. The biggest one being that for a very specific type of business owner, PR for your personal brand needs to be done by you. So I'm just cautious of the fact that I'm in a room, in an environment with a lot of PR agency owners. I never want anyone to feel like I'm bashing them. So I know I'm pretty strong-headed in a lot of my opinions when it comes to public relations. So I was a little nervous going into this event and kind of showing up in a space where sometimes I can seem anti-industry because I'm a sensitive gal. And I wonder if you guys know that. Like, I mean, I guess if you listen to this podcast, you know I'm probably pretty sensitive, but like, I am sensitive both in my own feelings and to other people's feelings. And I mean, I would not be where I am in my career today without PR. Obviously, PR is what has made this whole thing go. But I have like very specific views on like the types of business owners and the types of businesses, I should say, that PR is really for. It's not like I believe every PR agency should not exist. I think for certain brands, for certain large corporations, they're really important. But for your small to medium sized business, for your personal brands especially, PR agencies aren't something that I think are necessary. And yeah, I mean, that's not what this episode is about. So like, let me not go down that tangent. But what I wanted to describe to you was what experience that I just had, which was really, really cool. So got to go to this like little mingler. So as I walked up to the Toronto Stock Exchange building here in Toronto, there was like a big outdoor billboard that had like the Toronto Stock Exchange women in PR. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional like talking about this. It's not even my like organization. Anyways, wow, I'm tired if you can't tell. Crying on the podcast. Have I done that yet? I think I've always just gotten a little bit emotional. This might feel like a cry might happen, but stay tuned. So I walk in. Well, actually, as I walked up to the building, I'm like, oh, I'm going to take some content. Lo and behold, there was someone out there actually like taking content. So she was like, oh, like, do you want a photo? Do you want a video? Let me help. Perfect. Walked in and immediately was greeted by some other people from the industry. No one that I knew, but we just got to like chat and say hi. And they had Coca-Cola lined up, which was great. And so about 45 minutes of networking, which is perfect. Okay. So I was networking, chatting. They brought around like some glasses of champagne. And then they're like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. They lined us all up behind like the Toronto Stock Exchange, like this desk situation. And if you follow me on Instagram, you can go see the visual over there. And then there's like a big button on this desk. And so basically they briefed us and were like, okay, as soon as that clock hits like 30 seconds, we need energy up just in case the TV station decides to broadcast early. So like at 30 seconds, like we're all like cheering. Oh my God, it's still making me emotional. We're all like cheering. And then we start counting down. So like you count down like from 10. And this is so dumb. Why am I crying? So like you're cheering, the camera's rolling. You can actually see on the TV like behind you, like you can see yourself on the news because at the end of each day, like I have to remember what news station it is because I gotta see if I can find the clip. That's gonna be my homework for tonight as I like have this hotel room to myself for a little bit for the entire night until tomorrow. I meant for a little bit until I inevitably pass out because it's been a long day. So we're like cheering, you can see yourself on TV, and then it's like 3, 2, 1, and then all this confetti like falls to the ground, and then that's basically it. They like take photos, you can shoot content. Obviously we did a little bit of that, and then they take a bunch of photos of us. So it's really just like a fun like photo op moment, something that I like to call famous people shit. And I think if you listen to this podcast or if you follow me on Instagram, you too want to do famous people shit. And that is something that's like really been on my mind, this concept of feeling famous. Obviously, I bring it up in so many situations. I mean, it's what my brand and business is built on. But even today, I was chatting with a woman who works with some bigger celebrities with her PR agency, which is a very impressive agency. And I loved meeting her. We immediately like connected. And she said something that like totally resonated with me because she gets to do a little bit of like film and TV PR. And I asked her what was her favorite client to work with. And that was the industry. And I was like, well, obviously I would have said the same thing. She's like, yeah, like, I mean, isn't that why we got into this industry? Like for the glitz and the glam? And I was like, yeah. I mean, like at this point in my business, I am full in on trying to be a celebrity. And she just kind of laughed. She probably, I mean, she does follow me on Instagram. So maybe she knows. I never know like how much people actually know about me and to my like core desire to be famous. But I'm getting less and less shameful about it. Like, I just think the more that I talk about it, the more that I like embrace this like famous feeling and like act as if like I really like just feel that way about myself. And I think that like why wouldn't you want to have that feeling? And so let me describe to you like some other situations. So because a couple fun things have happened in the past couple days. So yesterday, I flew from Vancouver to Toronto. When I went to go get my Uber, I was like, you know what? From now on, any like long trip, I mean, I didn't do it for like just the like short, like, couple kilometer trips that I do within Toronto, but like from downtown Toronto to the airport and vice versa, like I'm like, I'm not like just ordering Uber X. I, from here on out, am ordering Uber Black. It's the same rule that I have like when I'm flying. Like if a flight is over 4 hours, like I'm buying a business class seat. That's just my standing rule. It's more comfortable and like it feels more luxurious. I don't arrive to my destination feeling like cramped and hungry and exhausted. I feel well rested. And I'm like, let me start to do that with any Uber that's going to be like over 45 minutes. Like, let me just upgrade the and like eat that cost. And like, it's just that feeling. It helps me like step into the like famous feeling energy. So yesterday I implemented this rule and I got picked up from the airport in a like nice little Audi, and like, the driver's so nice and he's like asking me like if I'm comfortable and if everything's okay, and I'm like, everything is perfect. And it's the same rule that I have for hotels too. I mean, like there is a class of hotels that like I'm not in my budget yet. Looking straight at the camera yet. But I mean, I'm staying at the Kimpton right now, which a previous version of me would never be able to afford to stay in a hotel like this. And I've just kept having these moments of being like, this is what you created, Katrina. You created this for yourself, this morning. So I had breakfast with a friend of mine here in Toronto. And on my way back in the Uber, I had a mentorship call where I was mentoring. So the call kind of started as I was still in my Uber, and we do like a mentors connect before all the mentees come on. So I had some time to get to my hotel, but I just like flipped on my camera as I was in the Uber. And I saw myself looking back at myself, and I'm like, in this Uber, I have my cute, like stylish sunglasses on that are from Amazon, but they look very expensive. I am like, and I look back at myself, I'm like, God, I feel kind of famous right now. And one of my mentors spilled the beans and was like, Katrina, like tell everybody what you're doing today in Toronto. And so I was like, closing the stock exchange, blah, blah, blah. And one of my mentors was like, God, I love having a famous person in LIB, living in balance. And I was like, thank you. Yes. Act as if. Like, and so like that happened, and like this famous people shit concept is picking up steam really, really quickly. And my clients pick up on it a lot too. And one of my clients messaged me yesterday after I was talking about famous people shit on Instagram. And she was like, thanks for triggering me. I just said F yes to a conference in Las Vegas. I'm off to go do famous shit now. And I'm like, yes. Cause like what? Like this is like the thing I want us all to remember. Like we are so worthy of all the glitz, all the glamour, all of the beautiful things. Like we are inherently. And the more that we like give it to ourselves without it like having to like be a tree or like, oh, I'm going to splurge. It's like, no, this is a lifestyle now. And, I don't ever want people to think I'm like encouraging like bad spending habits or anything like that. But at a certain point in business, it's like you got to pay for the Uber anyways. So you know what? If you pay an extra 30, 40 bucks to like be comfortable and like to actually be safe, because I've had some like questionable Uber experiences. And so when you drive Uber Black, like it's typically like a more professional experience. And so there's that too. And I'm just like, I think if we all just like admitted out loud that we want the fame, who we want the fortune, we want the glitz, we want the glamour, like it's not a shameful thing to want. And I say this having felt ashamed of wanting those things for a really long time. And now that I have them, I'm like, this is what I worked so hard for. This really is what I worked so hard for. And this is something that I've been talking about a lot this week because so let's talk a little bit about the marketing director position. At this point in time, I do have an offer out with someone who I think is really, really perfect for the role. But I posted on Instagram that I was in the interviewing process. So a lot of people that applied sent me DMs to like inquire if they were, like if they made the cut, which I think is bold, by the way. I don't know if I would have done that if I was in the position to, but each and every person that messaged me about this job has a personal brand. And that immediately disqualifies each and every person that applied for the job. Because I believe if you want to have a personal brand, or if you're actively building one, there's a part of you that wants to be famous. The marketing director position in my business, any support position in my business really, is not for the person who wants to be me. Okay? I know. Like, and like for all of you that are listening to this right now, like you're listening to a podcast called Fame Ready. So like reality check, there's a part of you that wants the glitz, the glam, you're interested in it. Maybe you haven't admitted it out loud to yourself or to anyone else yet, but you're curious. And I was that person for so long. Like, guys, like I spent my entire life competitive dancing. I even did like synchronized swimming at some points. I went to like modeling camp. Like I did the glitz and glam growing up. And then when I started my career in the sports industry, I really wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I wanted to like be on TV, be an anchor, be a sideline reporter, be Erin Andrews. I wanted all of that. And then I told myself that that just wasn't a realistic thing to want anymore. And I let that go and I let myself fade into behind the scenes and all of my like corporate rules to follow. I was like low confidence, low self-worth behind the scenes. And I just told myself like I didn't want those things. And you know what's fucking crazy? I remember this conversation that I had, and I wonder if the person that I had it with remembers too. So this was like towards the end of my corporate career. I want to say it must have been in the last year to like 15 months of my corporate career. Okay. Like it was towards the tail end. And I just think it's so funny, like looking back. So let me tell you. So I was having dinner and drinks, I think, at a brewery with a woman who I had connected with back when I worked and lived in Ontario back in my university days. And she had a really cool career. Okay. I'm not going to like put her on blast on this podcast episode because I'm famous. I shouldn't just go be name dropping people that like aren't in the spotlight anymore, because she's not. So she's someone who, when I looked at her career, she had all of the things that I wanted. Oh my God, I'm like, that's making me emotional. This is a raw and real episode, you guys. Oh, this is someone who like had everything that I wanted from a career standpoint. The media, the brand partnerships, all of those things. But I, at that point in my life, didn't think that I was worthy of those things. I didn't think it was possible for me. And so I told myself and her that I didn't want those things. And I literally said at this dinner with her, I'm like, yeah, like I know, like back in the early days of my career working in sports, like I like started to like try to like kind of become an influencer and like wanted to work in sports broadcasting. And, then I just decided that like I didn't really want that anymore. I said that to her. And I believed myself when I said it. Like, I really believed myself. And 15 months later, I left my corporate career. And it's not like I left my corporate career to be famous and like everything flipped like all of a sudden. Like this concept of like feeling famous and wanting that and letting myself have it evolved over time. Okay. So that's something important to understand. But it's when I became a business owner that I realized that I could start to do things that would like make me feel famous. Speaking, going on people's podcasts, growing an audience on Instagram, all of those things like gave me that like fame feeling. And I realized that it's not that I didn't want it. It's that for so long, I didn't think it was in the realm of possibility for myself. So I pushed the desire so far down. I pushed it so far down that, and then disguised it with like a different angle. And I'm like, it's that desire to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized, it's gone. It's gone and I don't want it. And that's what I told myself. But true entrepreneurship, like if you are someone who is like truly dedicated to like being a business owner, building out everything you've ever dreamed of, like you have to bring all of that to the surface. You actually have to pull it all out of you. You have to like dig deep and like pull out all that shit, put it out on the table and look at it. And you literally look at it and you're like, fuck, I do want to be famous. Like, fuck. And it's not like it happens all at once. Like for me, so the history of me using the word famous in my marketing, like I was actually not the person who came up with that. So early on, like when I was still running my agency, but I was doing like a little bit of like coaching and offers, building out my personal brand on Instagram. I was working with a coach and she was helping me with some messaging. And she was like, well, what if like, don't you help business owners feel famous? Like, isn't that like what you do? And I was like, not really. Like, that's a big thing to promise people. But I loved the idea of using that word. So on her advice, I started like integrating it into some of my marketing. That is what eventually led to me creating and launching my course, 5 Weeks Till Famous, which you can't access unless you join the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program. But I basically started using this word. And then I started talking about like my desire for fame, but I would always use it in like the context of being a business owner. So this is even up to like a year ago, you guys. Like I was at a mastermind in New York City a year ago, and I was with one of my best business. I went to Disney World like before that New York City trip, so maybe that's why my brain's glitching. But I roomed with one of my very best business friends, Lexi. I remember justifying to Lexi, I'm like, yeah, like it's not like fame in the sense of like red carpet and celebrities. It's like business fame. And that was how I kind of got everyone on board with like using PR. It's like, yeah, it's like feeling famous, but like for your work, for your business, blah, blah, blah. And now, basically a year later, I have now come to terms with the fact that like it's actually not business fame that I want. It's fame. It is a real red carpet, glitz, glamour, the whole thing. Famous. Okay. And I mean, I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. Last week or the week before, I was in Destin for the Power Table Live. We had an amazing yacht day, and I like cried to all of the women before we went on the yacht about how like my like true dream that I'm working on is to be a reality TV star. Not even like to be on reality TV, but like to be a reality TV star. Okay. And now I'm just like always pushing myself to like say that out loud and just like push my own edge of like admitting it to people, sharing it. And I know that in doing so, I push others to really be honest with themselves and what they want. And that's what I was going to say about this marketing director position. So I had a lot of people apply who I knew, who I really respect, who are very, very talented people, but are absolutely not right for the job. And the core is that if someone applied to the job and they had a personal brand, that was an immediate no for me. Because if you are building a personal brand, there is a part of you, whether you've admitted it to yourself or not, that wants to be famous. And that's great. That's why you're here. But if that's something that you want, you are not meant to work for me. Okay. And that's what I said to one of the women that actually followed up with me. I sent her a voice note. I'm like, listen, you didn't make the interview cut, but I want to tell you why, because it has nothing to do with your talent, your skill set, or how capable I think you are. I said to this person, I'm like, you are someone who, in the length of time that I've met you, has wanted to run events, work with brands. You've even talked about joining my program before. And based on all of that, that shows me that you are not someone who wants to be behind the scenes. That shows me that you are someone who wants to be in the spotlight, seen and heard. So me putting you behind the scenes of my business is bad for you. It's also bad for me. I lovingly sent her on her way, and I was like, I hope, like, do not be offended by this, but you've popped into my DM, so I want to give you my perspective. Please don't take this the wrong way. And she took it really, really well. The reason why we deprive ourselves of being in the spotlight and instead like keeping ourselves behind the scenes is because it's safe behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is safe. Back in the day, owning my marketing and PR agency felt really safe. Even being a coach / consultant feels really safe. And for me, because this is going to be different for everybody, for me, safety is so defined by finances. And I hate that. That gives me the ick. But that was actually a realization I had today while I was mentoring others. I like had this own realization in myself where for me, my safety, I like directly correlate it to how well I'm doing financially, which that's my own shit. So when I talk about safety when it comes to fame, like other people are going to have their own like thoughts and opinions on like what that means and how that feels for them. So if you're someone who wants deep in your core to be famous, but you're not, maybe because you're scared of what other people will think, or maybe you're scared of looking like you don't know enough, you're scared of people thinking you're inexperienced or too much. Like for me, those are like some like kind of like fluffy limiting beliefs that sometimes come across my proverbial desk. But my safety when I think about building a famous personal brand is like the revenue and the finance piece becomes so less predictable than if you run a quote unquote normal business. So in an agency, even in a coaching business, like revenue is predictable. There's recurring revenue. And I have quickly learned that the more visible you become and the more you want these like really expansive opportunities like speaking, brand partnerships, hosting events, like the income becomes like larger sums at once, but like less predictability, if that makes sense. And I spoke about this on the last episode where I'm in transition right now. I am fully in transition from, agency owner, then I went full coach consultant, and now I really say I am a personal brand. That doesn't mean I don't do coaching and consulting at all. That's still a revenue stream for me, but it's not the only one that I'm focused on. I'm actually about to make a pretty expensive financial investment into my business in the summer. I'm just about to put a deposit down for someone who can hopefully bring more predictability to these like really expansive revenue streams I really want. In the realm of like corporate speaking specifically. So that's going to be really cool. And hopefully that, I mean, it's so funny to go back to this conversation about like feeling safe, because at the end of the day, the safety has nothing to do with the money. That's just the two things that I relate to each other through my childhood conditioning. Like, I'm going to give you the most crazy example, okay? And I think if I just clear it here on the podcast, I can get this out of my system. This is such a tangent, by the way. I should have prefaced this episode by saying we're not talking strategy today. I know, sorry. This is another like stream of consciousness situation, but something in my gut tells me, based on how many times I've almost cried on this podcast episode, that like this might be one of my best performing episodes ever. And actually, you know what's crazy? The episode that I did about like growing and scaling a team popped off. Like I want to say viral in terms of podcasting, and I can't figure out why. I didn't think that like talking about like growing and scaling a team when it comes to personal branding was so interesting. But that episode continues to like pop off right now. So yeah. So we're not talking strategy today. This is like really mindset stuff, right? But that's such a big part of it because you can't have one without the other. What I wanted to say. Okay, so the social media app Threads fucking kills me, you guys. I try every time I post a thread, I like kind of pop off, which is fun because like the dopamine is out of control. But Threads, and I go through these waves where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get back on Threads. But then getting back on Threads means that I inevitably see the content that's posted on Threads, and it really triggers me, especially when it comes to like world events. So right now, all of this talk about the hantavirus, you know, like the cruise ship that was infested, and now like everyone's like whispering about like, is this going to be another pandemic? Blah, blah, blah. Like that shit 4 weeks before I'm about to host a major event with sponsors that is really supposed to drive an impact in my business. Like the way my butthole clenches every single time I hear the word hantavirus or pandemic, I cannot. And so it started to send me into a bit of a spiral. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Just like all of these things keep like kind of coming to the forefront. You know, about a month or two ago was this threat of war, which I mean, the news cycle moves on so quickly. So like, I mean, there is still a threat of war, of course, but for some reason that's not what's coming across my feed right now. But anyways, as I started to spiral about the hantavirus, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose so much money if there's a pandemic. And what grossed me out about the realization that I had about that was like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, what if one of my loved ones or myself gets sick? Or what if, you know, a pandemic happens and that's just terrible for the world? Or like, you know, hantavirus is serious stuff, like you can die. And I'm like, the thought of dying to me is less severe than having like a financial mishap. That's crazy. That's crazy work. So I had that realization today. And so for me, all of my like safety and security around money comes from like having it. And that has been ingrained in me in so long. And like, I really try not to have a tight grip on money. Like, you guys know that the way that I've built this business is through investing in myself and my business and leveraging debt and taking out a business loan and doing those hard things and being okay with not knowing if it's going to come back. But I get really triggered by the thought of like making a financial mistake. So for me, the thought of fame and like being in transition and like the safety and security, to bring it back to that conversation, like, but being behind the scenes, taking on coaching, consulting clients, doing all of that is what makes me, or a previous version of me, feel safe. The problem is it's not the thing I like enjoy the most, right? I love my group coaching program. The Fame Ready Entrepreneur program is like where the magic happens. And right now, Fame Ready VIP, which is the like hybrid group with one-on-one support, is doing really, really well for the clients that are inside. And so that makes me really happy because that, to me, that business model works for me and it works for the clients that are in it. But, you know, in terms of like taking on more corporate consulting contracts or more one-on-one clients, I want to do things with scale, volume, big audiences, but the income feels less predictable in those. Like, to me, when I'm feeling like sad and desperate, I think about social media managers because I'm like, God, it must be nice to just be able to have a business that like really everybody needs. But those are my own limiting beliefs, right? And so as I was like going through these applications and seeing the women that applied, like I could tell. And so if you're listening to this and you're one of the women that applied and didn't get an interview, it's because I know there's a part of you that wants to be famous. And I would be doing you a disservice if I hired you to help me be famous, because I'm not only hindering you, but you're going to fucking hate it. You're going to hate working for someone who has what you have. Even if you're not conscious of it on a deeper level, you are going to feel like, why can't that be me? And that's just not an energy that I need in my business, first of all. Okay. But second of all, I need you to be brave. I need you to take one more step towards the spotlight to give yourself what you really want to have. Because it's not shameful to want to be famous, okay? It's not shameful to want to be seen and heard. It's not. Whatever childhood conditioning you received that told you that, this is your permission to let that shit go. Okay? Because famous people shit, okay, is fucking fun. It's fun. It feels good. You know, when you've built a personal brand that's based on integrity and you have values and you do things that are aligned with your purpose and your mission and your vision, there is nothing wrong about wanting fame and like being famous for that very, very important work. So that's what I want you to take away from all of this. Like even today as I soak in like getting to close the Toronto Stock Exchange, like to close the markets, I'm like, that's so cool because I worked so hard to be able to do that. And being in a room like that and like, you know, seeing the content back and being like, holy shit, I did that. That just shows you what else is possible for yourself. As I was walking home, so after that event, I'm like, you know what? My hotel is like a 45-minute walk away, like a 3-kilometer walk basically. But I'm like, I've been doing a lot of sitting, haven't hit the gym in a couple days. So let me just walk back to my hotel. I will say like my ankles are so mad at me. I have the biggest blisters from walking 3 kilometers in loafers, but that's okay. She'll learn her lesson one day. But as I was walking home, like I kept getting like these spikes of emotion. And I thought to myself, like, oh my gosh, if this is what I'm accomplishing like right now at 33, so new still into growing this personal brand and business, like, I wonder what else? Like, what else? And that's why the famous people shit moments are so important, because if you're giving them to yourself right now, it opens up like what else is out there and possible for you. Okay. And so that's why I want you to go out there and like experience the famous people shit, because that is what's going to help you like expand your worldview and truly believe for yourself that the possibilities are endless. I mean, this is the podcast where we believe that the possibilities are endless, right? And anything is possible. And Big Brand Energy Live, my event happening on June 11th in Surrey, BC, Canada, is the room where we believe that the possibilities are endless and we act like it. Okay. So there's only about 15 tickets sold out. So only about 15 tickets left until we sell out. So, you know, by the time this podcast episode comes out next week, there'll be even less. So if you're really feeling like you want to start doing famous people shit, let me tell you, that event is a great place to start. We've got so many different things planned, and just being in a room where people are believing in their own expansion and really working on it is a great way to open your own mind and be excited about what's available to you. So you can use code FAMEREADY to get $50 off your ticket. It's only a few left, so you better hurry to the show notes and get it. And yeah, I really loved this episode. I'm excited for this one to come out and to just see like what the reception is, because I feel like I've recorded it for a handful of people that like I know need to hear it, but I think there's so many others out there that also need this message and need this content. So if you liked this episode in particular, send me a DM and tell me, okay? Oh my God, that's what I wanted to tell you. Oh my God. Sorry, this is going to ruin my effing conclusion, but I got a really cool message today. Okay. So yesterday on the plane, I like look in my requests folder on Instagram and I have one, and you know, those things always kind of make your heart skip a beat. Like usually it's spam, but this one was from someone that I know from a previous life. And so this woman was my neighbor, about, oh my gosh, like 9 years ago. Has it been that long? Yeah, almost 9 years, 8 or 9 years ago. So this woman, she was my neighbor when I lived with my ex-boyfriend, who I was with for, I think, 2 years. We lived together. He is the man that brought me Dexter, my amazing French bulldog. So, I haven't heard from him in a few years. I wish him well, but she was my neighbor, and at the time she was a single mom and had a couple kids, and so sometimes we would like what's funny? I have this core memory of like after my ex-boyfriend broke up with me, I was in shambles, and like I would actually like, this is making me emotional. Oh my God. Oh, okay. We're just crying today. But I was in shambles. This man broke up with me like so unexpectedly, and I was so young. I did not have the career that I had, that I built after that. And like, okay, we're just gonna, if I cry on this, like, bear with me, you guys, because I'm thinking like I'm going through like a full circle transition. Here I was like ready to wrap up this episode and order a pizza, but if you're still listening to this, I have no idea how long I've even talked for. Shout out to my friend Christina Bartold, who's like, how can you talk to yourself for so long on your podcast? It's a gift. When my ex-boyfriend broke up with me, I was making about $45,000 a year, at a job I really hated. And I had very, very recently got hired in a new role where I had negotiated for what felt like a lot of money for me at the time. It was $70,000. And so I just transitioned into this new role, and I was in it for like 2 or 3 months tops. And in this role, they actually like, I was supporting on, it was in commercial property management, shopping centers primarily. So they would fly me to another city to like help with some of their stuff. So I had just gone on like my first like kind of fun work trip. And I'd come back, and like, I mean, he was a Scorpio. That should tell you everything you know when I'm a Libra, full air sign. Um, but I'd basically gotten back from this work trip that day, and we went to a party later that evening, and I don't know why we got into some sort of argument at this party. And then by the time we got home, he was like, I can't do this anymore. And fair. I mean, like, we fought so much. We were not each other's people, but I was so young, and he had the money. He was wealthy based on like his family stuff. Um, I lived in his condo. I didn't really have savings. I didn't have any of that. And I basically moved out the next day. Like, I woke up at 5 a.m. after we spent like the whole night like arguing. Then he left to go stay at a friend's house because he broke up with me. I like woke up at 5 a.m. like razzed, and just like started looking at on Craigslist at rentals about an hour away from where we lived. By like 10 a.m., I had set up viewings for that day. Like, the body was still warm. Like, but I moved fast because I knew it was over. Like, I knew that that period of my life was over. And I like remember going to um these viewings and like having Dexter with me, because obviously I needed a pet friendly. Like, when this man broke up with me, I was like, the very first thing I said it was, I'm taking the dog. And he didn't argue, like, thank God. So like I took Dexter, and I was going to these viewings, and I remember like feeling like all the landlords kind of felt bad for me. Like, they could tell I had just gone through something. And so the rental I ended up going with, like, I even remember like he was like, if you like, we just got to like finish doing some painting because it was a brand new like renovation. He's like, if you need to move in sooner, like if you're in an unsafe situation, like, you can move in sooner. And I wasn't in an unsafe situation. I mean, not physically, emotionally, sure, but I like really abruptly moved out and like moved on with my life. And so in the like 2 to 3 week period before moving into my own place, I was like in shambles. I like didn't go to work for a couple days. It was like the busy season at this new job that I had that I like had wanted for so long, but I was a mess. Okay. And so my sweet neighbor, this woman would like text me. She would invite me over to just like spend time with her and her kids. Cause I was like not doing good. So yeah. So I had this message from her. I'm going to get through this story, you guys. God. So I had a message from her and like immediately I was like, I have no idea. I don't think that my ex still lives in that condo. I feel like I'm sure he moved. Like, how could you still live in this home that him and I shared for so long? I guess 2 years. I mean, it's not that long, but felt like a long time. So I don't think he lives there anymore. But there was a part of me that's like, is she going to tell me like he died or something? Anyway, she didn't. Her message was, I guess she has like created these like fragrances or candles or something and sells them at markets. And so she was like, Katrina, I wanted to tell you that I was like at a market and someone was admiring my fragrances. And I said that I wanted to be like the signature scent in a hotel. Like they were like, I could see this being the signature scent of like this fancy hotel. And she was like, that's what I really want. Like I would love to be able to accomplish that. And this person was like, I know someone that can help you do that. And then they said my name. And that is like, and so she was messaging me to tell me that. She was like, I'm so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished. Like for someone, and I have no idea who said this, but for someone to just be like, hey, you know, who can like help you do that? Katrina Owens. Like that is famous people shit right there. And that's not frivolous. That's not shameful. That is me fully like being in my gift, helping other people achieve the like very beautiful dreams that they have. And so I guess my purpose for sharing this like extra story before we wrap is like the work you do is important. And to know that people are talking about you and celebrating your work in a positive way in rooms or spaces that you don't even know, that is why it's so important to be seen and be heard and like really let yourself relish in that. That's a big deal. That's famous people shit. And it's something that you should want, okay? You should want that. You should want people celebrating you, talking about you, sharing your work. Why wouldn't you? So if you've listened this far, please let me know. Let me know if you love this episode. Something in my gut is like, this is probably the best work I've ever done. Please rate and review this podcast. If you loved this episode specifically, it would mean the world. Please follow me at Katrina Owens PR on Instagram. You can follow at Get Fame Ready on Instagram. We're going to figure out what we're going to do with that platform once my marketing director gets in place. But thanks for tuning in, you guys. This is obviously like really important work for me. And to know that so many people show up to listen every single day is fucking awesome. So thanks so much. I'll see you guys all next week. Toodles.